If there's anything we've learned from the pandemic, it's about the need for science to be inclusive, but that applies to many other challenges, from disparities in health outcomes to the mix of people doing research and providing care. The need for inclusion is hardly new, and that's why the Science Club for Girls was founded in 1994. To tell us about the club and some of its adaptations to the pandemic are a graduate and mentor who's currently majoring in neuroscience at Harvard University, Kaelyn Brown. Also with us is the club's executive director, Dr. Bonnie Bertolaet. Thank you very much for being with us. I want to start with Bonnie. If we rewind to 1994, I think we would not be surprised to find that there was a big gender gap in the sciences and other areas of the STEM fields. But how much has that changed since then?
Well, we've been doing a lot of work in this area for the last 26 years, but we are still at the point where only 24% of the US STEM workforce is made up of women, as opposed to half of all of the workforce in the United States being made up of women. And the situation gets even more dramatic when you look at our prioritized communities at Science Club for Girls, which is girls who are underrepresented in STEM by race and socioeconomic factors. We look at that level of statistics and representation. Only 4% of US scientists and engineers are women who are Black and Hispanic.
I'm going to turn to Kaelyn. What about your involvement? Because I understand you started with the club when you were, what, 6 years old?
Yeah, I actually had just moved to Massachusetts from North Carolina, and we were visiting church, and one of my mom's church friends came up to us and invited us to Science Club for Girls, which I think was just being started in my region. So they said, you should come and, join, and this would be a really great experience for your daughters. So my mom took my sister, myself, and my cousin the next Saturday, and I don't think we have ever looked back since. So I grew up really through the clubs. I went from kindergarten to 5th grade, and then 6th grade to 8th grade, and then I became a junior mentor, and now I'm in college and I'm mentoring for the club.
Well, now that you're a mentor, you have one perspective. I want to go back to when you were younger, because you're 6 years old and a little over that. What made you so enthused about this?
Yeah, I think it was very interesting because I wasn't necessarily someone who was set on doing science. I mean, I was also 6, but I had a lot of other passions. But I think Science Club for Girls really provided me with not only an amazing, nourishing community, but also really increased my confidence in STEM and kind of showed me what was out there. I had so much exposure through this club to different STEM opportunities and careers, which really opened my eyes to all that, a future in science could hold. And I think that the main reason that I want to be a neuroscientist when I graduate was due to Science Club for Girls, because I met a neuroscientist, a Black neuroscientist, a woman neuroscientist, which was just an amazing milestone in my life and really helped shape what I wanted to do and who I wanted to become. So, I mean, the club has had just an enormous impact on me, and being part of it for so long, it's really hard to put into words the vast guide it has been in my life and how it has really shaped me through my formative years.
Well, I want to come back to this barrier that you're trying to help girls and maybe young women overcome, because is this about not having much contact with science to engage them, or is this about the stereotype of the scientist as being, a person who's male and white and maybe from a privileged community? What's the most important thing?
Well, I think you hit all of the nails on the head. I think it's really a combination of all of these factors. And we really have a multi-pronged approach at Science Club for Girls to address these different issues. So we have a continuum of programming that, Kaelyn so beautifully illustrates, from kindergarten through high school graduation, that really is designed to combat the many off-ramps in a girl's trajectory to college, higher education in STEM and a STEM career. And what really, we have engaging curriculum, and we keep our clubs very social. But the interactions with the mentors is really the key piece. And it's having, these living role models that the girls are interacting with at each stage of our trajectory, with the younger girls in science clubs, the middle school STEMistas, and then the girls in high school with junior mentors. And our mentors really represent a broad range of different careers in the sciences and technology, engineering, and mathematics. And they are also at different stages of their careers. So there's this great interplay between the girls and the mentors, but it's also a really great community for the mentors themselves. Women in STEM still often work in isolation. And so this is a great way for the mentors to have a supportive environment and, for networking. And this also leads to persistence for not only the girls to stay in STEM, for the adult women's too, because we keep losing women, especially women of color, women from lower socioeconomic backgrounds who don't necessarily, all of them put together, have the same kind of networking opportunities. And so the pipeline becomes leaky, as we go on through. And Science Club for Girls is about really filling that pipeline.
Going back to Kaelyn about mentors, role models, and even some networking. You had a speaker come to the club once, and I guess she was very, very important in your life. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So we were doing a day in which we went to it was one of our field trips. So we had a day where we visited a pharmaceutical company, and we had a bunch of speakers come in and speak to us. And I was probably, I would say, like 10 or 11 at the time. So it was kind of a full day. I was having a little bit of trouble focusing on everything, even though they had given us journals to write down everything that was, the speakers were saying. But it was close to the end. And a doctor came in and she said, "Hi, everyone. And I'm going to present my research." She started presenting her lab research, and she was working with mice, and she was talking a lot about, the different experiments she had used to influence and impact their behavior. And I had never really heard that much about, the brain, behavior, neuronal circuits, anything like that. Neurotransmitters, I had no idea what was going on. But it was very interesting to me. For some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I wrote down everything. I wrote down neuroscience. I wrote down her, just like the neurotransmitters in her presentation. And I went home and I looked everything up. And I told my mom, I said, "Mom, I think I want to be a neuroscientist." And I don't think I realized then the lasting impact that it had on me, seeing a Black neuroscientist present her work. But I think as I've tried to navigate the field and as I've gotten older and moved and progressed through higher level STEM classes and really seen that there is a lack and a barrier for many women, but also Black people and people of color generally, to pursue higher education in academia and STEM fields in particular, I kind of I'm really appreciative of that experience, and it really enabled me to move throughout my education and not really question that I could do it or that I belonged, just because I had seen her so much earlier, when I was a younger girl. And that really, really has pushed me and encouraged me to really pursue what I want to do, because she'd already did it and she looked like me. So yeah, I think that was just an amazing opportunity that has really, really pushed me to where I am today.
Bonnie, one thing I'm a little worried about when we talk about these career tracks here is that some of them do involve some really difficult hurdles. They could be financial, they could be about being in a good school system that's very competitive. But what about students who are not advantaged that way? Can your club still help them?
Sure. We are all about getting engagement from everyone into STEM. And, there are many different ways to be involved in STEM, and there are many different industries, and there are many different pathways. So we also work with mentors who are in various programs at community colleges, at the various universities in the area. And, you know, the economy is driven by a number of jobs in STEM that require a whole range of careers, associate degrees, college, undergraduate degrees, as well as, you know, PhDs and MDs. So there's a wide range. And actually, an unknown fact is that graduate school in the sciences is largely subsidized too.
I come back to Kaelyn because, you know, in your work so far in this field as a student at Harvard, I'm sure, you know, you're really good at the calculations, but you're also mentoring people and you're being recognized as a leader. There's more to that than just being nice and volunteering. Why is leadership so important?
I think leadership is really important because, you know, it's not necessarily just about, you know, what, as you said, kind of being able to do the job. You really need to be able to uplift and encourage those around you. So, you know, I understand that my pursuit in neuroscience is filling a gap and that there's a lack of Black women who want to be neuroscientists. But it doesn't just take me to remedy that. It's bigger than just one person. What I really feel driven and, you know, is kind of my duty is to uplift those around me and to really empower young women who look like me, young women who don't look like me, young women who come from places that I do, come from different places, to understand and to really see that they have an unending potential and that they can potentially do everything and more that I've done. I think that that's a huge component of science, and we always need to build each other up and build off of the experiments and, you know, contributions that other people have had. So I think that leadership is essential in order to move forward and continue to do amazing things that we have already been able to do.
Finally, Bonnie, if any viewers would like to get some more information about the club or keep up with some of the other things that have been going on, at least online, is there a way they can do that?
Yes, please visit our website, which is www.scienceclubforgirls.org. And that's where you can access our programs, which our clubs run on a semester basis. But we also have a live science show every Friday at 4 p.m. on our Facebook Live page, which is also broadcasted through a number of different outlets in a variety of cities. And all that information can be found on our website. And I would just like to, you know, add that our programs have always been free in order to really break down the barriers of access to STEM, to kind of go back to your earlier question. And we're really about getting engagement and tapping into the unrealized potential to not only bring the best solutions forward, but to really address the issues of the lack of STEM workers and the shortage of STEM workers in our country right now, which has been heightened by the pandemic. Of course, the dramatic underrepresentation of our prioritized communities and the widening achievement gap that is really, you know, exacerbated by the pandemic for girls and women of color, especially in STEM. So we bring together all those issues to build a robust pipeline of future, you know, STEM ecosystem for all of us to benefit from.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to join us, and congratulations, Kaelyn. That was Kaelyn Brown and Bonnie Bertolaet from the Science Club for Girls. We'll have more news in just a moment.